forsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm better than.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to be talking about Smackdown from February the 4th, 2022. A very boring episode of Smackdown. Boring. Very boring. And I'm going to give this show the energy it gave me. So, this was probably the worst Smackdown in recent memory. So, opening segment, Paul Heyman kind of explains the story thus far between him, Roman, and Brock. While I love everybody involved, I did not like this angle. Allow me to explain. So, Heyman talked about what really happened. And he said that there was no plot, there was no scheme. It was simply the evolution of the business. And that he made the fatal mistake of thinking that Roman needed to be protected from Brock when it was reality that Brock needed to be protected from Roman. And he said when he told Roman that he needed protection from Brock, he was rightfully fired, rightfully took a Superman punch, and was left jobless in the gutter. And then Brock Lesnar picked him up. He became once again the counsel. Well, I won't even say the word counsel, the advocate for Brock Lesnar. And it was his advocacy for Brock Lesnar which got Brock the match at day one, got Brock the championship. And then Brock decided he was going to challenge Roman title for title. And it was stupid. And that was the one thing that made Brock Lesnar stupid. I was like, okay, sure. I'm having trouble following this thing, right? Then he talks about, he was stuck with the happy Saskatchewan farmer and thought he was going to spend the rest of his career doing reigning, defending, and that we will never hear that again. And then Roman offered him the opportunity, the hand of forgiveness, the hand of family, the hand of the tribal chief. And Roman showed that the goat can slay the beast, and that there will be no title for title, and that at WrestleMania, Brock will do what Roman wants, and Brock will not get what he wants. Then he acknowledged Roman as his tribal chief. I did not like this because, simply put, the story is better off with Paul being the shyster and stabbing Brock in the back. That's what we saw, right? It makes sense, and everybody pretty much guessed. It was a plan, it was a scheme from the beginning that Paul took the Superman punch in order to prove his loyalty to Roman Reigns, in order to get Brock to drop his guard so that Roman can stab him in the back at the most opportune moment. But here it made it seem like it was all just a fortuitous thing. It was all just so fortuitous that it wasn't a plot, it wasn't a scheme, and that, it was a plot, but it was much later. Like the plot was after Brock challenged Roman. Instead of it being Paul saying, I thought maybe if I got Brock that championship match, he would leave Roman Reigns alone. And then Roman would say, that's right, that was our plan. We make Brock the WWE champion, that where he would stay on Raw, and I wouldn't have to deal with him. But then it was Brock and his boneheadedness coming over and challenging on SmackDown. That's somewhat of what they were saying here, but not completely. It was kind of implied that they were trying to divert Brock by helping him become WWE champion. That was sort of the plan. And then Paul kind of lost control of it. And because it wasn't just simple, Roman and Paul planned this thing out, and Brock, through being Brock, screwed it up. It came across as if Paul just jumping back and forth. Instead of Paul was always in Roman's corner and never wavered in his faith against his tribal chief. And it just came across as very, very strange. Now, Paul, of course, did everything perfectly. It was all fantastic, as far as how they put it together, his delivery and everything. But I was kind of like, I like the idea more if it was a plan. You know, if it was a plan from the beginning, I like that idea more. So then Bill Goldberg came out, challenged Roman Reigns to a match at Elimination Chamber. Of course, it was made official. Goldberg, Roman. It was supposed to happen at WrestleMania 2 years ago. It will happen at Elimination Chamber. A lot of people are, I guess, I wouldn't say they're mad. They don't really understand it. And they say this is Goldberg's last match on his contract, as if he's not going to get another one. And I see the point. I just don't really agree. Like, here's the thing. During the conference call, Nick Khan said, the magic words. He was asked about the large international shows. And he said, why just 2 large international shows a year? He kind of just dropped that little nugget out there. Why just 2? Why not more than 2? And you would naturally think, all right, maybe they're going to expand the Saudi shows, but it's entirely possible they could expand the Saudi shows. But let's say that they do that. Then they're going to keep bringing Goldberg back. I'm not against them expanding the Saudi shows. I don't have a problem with the Saudi shows. They're wrestling shows. I don't see the problem with wrestling shows being in Saudi Arabia. I don't care about that. So, the only thing that's my problem is the timing. I got to work that day. So I got to avoid spoilers all fucking afternoon. I won't actually get to watch the show until damn near 8 o'clock at night. And I got to go to work the next day too. So, boy, I'm going to be tired that day. I can tell you that. In any event, I'm okay with Goldberg versus Roman. I don't hate it. I actually kind of knew it was going to happen. I think I actually called it. Probably called it on Raw. This was the purpose of Goldberg beating Lashley in Saudi Arabia, to get his win back, to get his momentum back, so he wouldn't be challenging for a title off of a loss. All right. Not exactly. We know that Goldberg's not going to win. Roman's going to win. But it ought to be a fun match. It ought to be a fun match. And this is the match that, the Saudis like Goldberg. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to be upset about that. They showed a hype video for Goldberg too, as if he needed it. Goldberg does not need a hype video, Roman didn't even talk about wrestling Goldberg. Now, we know that Roman was not thrilled about wrestling Goldberg 2 years ago. And, and the pandemic was a way of getting out of it. But he got trapped this time. This time he cannot escape. But at the same time, they've done a really good job of making everybody else not credible whatsoever. So Goldberg is pretty much the only real challenge he's got, and then wrestling Goldberg and Brock in back-to-back events, it's pretty good, It also continues the story of Roman's threat levels continuing to rise. I said this before, when the crowds returned, it became all about Roman's ever escalating levels of threat. At Elimination Chamber, Edge attacked him. This was all in the Thunderdome. But Edge attacked him to challenge him for WrestleMania. They ended up screwing that up by making it a triple threat match with Daniel Bryan. But then fans were back officially for Money in the Bank, and it was Edge and Roman. And then Cena returned to lead into SummerSlam. And then Brock returned to lead into this storyline here. So now Goldberg is just another level, Some people would say Brock is, but Goldberg is even more of a special attraction than Brock, because Goldberg literally only has like 2 or 3 matches a year. So it just continues that, Roman's going to have this crazy list of guys that he's defeated, and Goldberg's just going to add his name to that list. So I'm not against it, all of this hopefully ends up with some special somebody finally beating Roman Reigns clean in the middle of the ring. And the longer it takes, the more it's looking like it's going to be Brock. Oh, I choked on that. Ugh. Oh, I choked on that one. I guess that shows how much I don't like that idea. But Roman being double champion, whatever. It's just so lackluster. It just feels so lackluster to me. It lacks energy. Because the WrestleMania match is already made. Therefore, the Goldberg match is pretty much a throwaway, And Elimination Chamber right now is feeling like a lot about, even though I'm very excited about the men's chamber match and Lita and Becky, it feels very throwaway. When they book things, this is the thing about booking things so far in advance. When you book something so far in advance, it says that everything in between doesn't really make sense. And then you have to do the twists and turns in order to make it interesting. Otherwise, I just tune out until WrestleMania. That's the problem with, quote unquote, long-term booking is you can just say, all right, in January, I'm going to say the match is Brock versus Roman. All right, so see you in August. See you in April. We know that nothing's going to change, so nobody Roman wrestles is going to beat him. Nothing that happens to Brock is going to take him off that path. Unless somebody catches COVID or something, or somebody gets injured, it's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be Brock versus Roman. And it would, in the old days, it would have been great because there would have been a couple of Raws in between, maybe a pay-per-view to establish the undercard of WrestleMania. But now there's so much TV in between that this shit just going to get boring, And plus, I don't think Brock and Roman is a match on the scale of Rock and Austin that he can main event 3 or 4 fucking WrestleManias. And along with all the other B pay-per-views they wrestled on. I'm not thrilled about that, dog. It's tiring. I'm tired of Roman and Brock. I really am. As much as I like the storyline, we can see that the whole COVID thing took this in a completely different direction, and it probably would have been better off if they'd just canceled the match and had the match at Elimination Chamber. It probably would have been a lot better. They'd just canceled the day one match and then had Brock and Roman at Elimination Chamber, or Brock and Roman at Royal Rumble, and still had the Paul Heyman heel turn. It would have been better off than putting the belt on Brock just to take it off of him and put it on Lashley, just to take it off him and put it back on Brock. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And now they've teased title for title so much that they kind of have to do it. It'd have been one thing if it was said in a promo, title for title, and then, it didn't happen. But now there's so much time in between to make the title for title thing happen that it seems pretty silly to me that they wouldn't do it. To be quite honest, Brock versus Roman don't need a title anyway. Both of them can lose for all I care. But actually, no, I'm not going to say that because Roman needs to have the belt because he needs to pass the torch. All right, the rest of this show was absolute garbage. Ridge Holland was defeated by Ricochet in like 2.5 minutes, which was absolutely stupid. And then they restarted the match after commercial into a tag team match with Sheamus and Ridge versus Ricochet and Cesaro. And if you think you've seen this before, you have. You thought you saw the finish before? You did. Ridge Holland defeated Cesaro with the Northern Grit. Stupid. Jimmy Uso defeated Eric of the Viking Raiders. Stupid. Aaliyah versus Natalya. Aaliyah wins via countout. They've wrestled for 3 straight fucking weeks. Aaliyah has won each time by different means. She was the quick roll up the first time, the disqualification the second time, and now a countout this time. And they're going to have another fucking match. It's going to be Dungeon Rules, pinfall, submission only. In other words, a no DQ, street fight style fucking match. Come on, man. Unless they're going to record that bitch in the actual dungeon. Even if it's just like Natalya's house, the dungeon. Because I heard she has her own little dungeon school. If they were to film it in there, it might be fun. But if it's going to be Natalya and Aaliyah again in front of a live crowd doing the exact same shit they've been doing, this fucking sucks. It sucks. Poor Aaliyah. Poor Aaliyah. Jesus Christ. Drew McIntyre came out there, Smackdown Warrior, still doing that shit. He's still feuding with Madcap, Moss, and Baron Corbin. What the fuck? This shit is painful. This whole scene here was a goddamn mess. McIntyre talked about how a doctor told him there will be no Rumble, no WrestleMania. He told him, kiss my ass. 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'm back, more focused than ever. And he came all the way back from a neck injury to wrestle Madcap Moss at Elimination Chamber. He just wrestled this fucker. Come on, bro. What the fuck? Oh my God. They just had a match at day one. What the hell are they saving Corbin and McIntyre for? At least put McIntyre in the Intercontinental title picture. God damn. That Corbin and Madcap Moss spot is the absolute death spot. You know, like, as soon as you start fucking with those guys, you're absolutely... It's like being sucked out into space. You're ice fucking cold. Nobody cares anymore. Even they even did the thing where McIntyre pulled a sword on Madcap Moss and made him tell a joke. He told a funny joke about criminals and the main event of WrestleMania both getting away scot-free. I actually smiled at that because it was so corny, but it was so funny at the same time. McIntyre constantly pulling swords on people and not using them. You know, it's like he's like Wolverine in the X-Men, the animated series. What do you say, bub? And then when it's time to actually fight, he retracts his claws. McIntyre willingly threw the sword down so he can kick Moss in the face. This is all bad. This is awful. This is awful, boring shit. Sami Zayn crashed the Jackass premiere. That was fun. He got into it with Johnny Knoxville, got thrown out. He went to Adam Pearce to complain about the footage being shown on television and then said, what the hell is up with my Intercontinental Championship match? I've been the number one contender for like 2 months. You know, which everybody agrees with the statement. Like, yeah, where is his title match? They actually set the date, February the 18th, which is the one day before they go to Elimination Chamber. That's fun. You know, I like that idea. They set it up 2 weeks in advance. That was fine with me. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Jinder Mahal 4 years too late. Sami Zayn was on commentary. He's pretty good at that. Naomi confronted Sonya Deville about her interfering with the Royal Rumble match. Naomi wanted to have another match with Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville said, how about I give you a women's title match instead? You can fight Charlotte. Naomi was like, yeah, right. This is BS. She ain't about to give me no title match. And Sonya looked like, oh, how dare you doubt me? Then Adam Pearce made it official. Charlotte versus Naomi next week. I mean, that's fun, you know. And then they immediately stepped on this by having Charlotte Flair be challenged by Ronda Rousey. So what fucking good did it do? And then here's the thing. Sonya Deville starts the promo by saying that Becky Lynch sent her a text message or something saying that she was the one chosen by Ronda Rousey. So Charlotte will get to choose her own opponent. By decree of Sonya Deville, Charlotte gets to choose her own opponent. I thought that was the rules of her winning the Royal Rumble. If she gets to choose her own opponent, even if she didn't win the Royal Rumble, no, there's 60 days in between now and then. Shouldn't we be like, well, we got to find a new number one contender? Do you have any ideas? 6-pack challenge, fatal 4-way? How do we figure this out? Sonya let Charlotte pick, and Charlotte chose Sasha Banks. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then Ronda Rousey came out there, and Ronda Rousey said that being a mom changed her mentally and that she owes some people some ass kickings. And Charlotte is one of those people she owes an ass kicking to. And that she's not special. She's just the first. And called her a bitch. Charlotte says that, okay, well, she's the main event of WrestleMania. And this championship is her baby. And is much prettier than Ronda's baby. I thought that was a pretty good line. Sonya Deville then got in between the two of them. Tried to lay down the law on Ronda Rousey. Said, I run this show, not you. You're going to do what I tell you to do. She kind of got into a little bit of a shoving match with Charlotte. Then Sonya Deville jumped on Ronda Rousey's back. I thought they were going to team up to, knock Ronda down. Then Charlotte bailed, leaving Sonya by herself, and she got put in an armbar. And that was the end of the segment. And I was like, this was so confusing. What a mess. What a mess. For starters, we shit all over the Royal Rumble match by saying that Charlotte gets to pick her own opponent. And then she picks Sasha Banks. Okay, cool. Not really how that's supposed to go, but all right. And then we reverse that decision by saying, oh, you know what? Ronda Rousey really does want to wrestle Charlotte. Okay, but what about Sasha Banks? And what about Naomi? Her match is next week. So we pretty much told everybody, hey, everybody, the next 60 days of material, throw it in the garbage. This is an issue. You can't make any, there is no drama here. We know, not only when we go to the Elimination Chamber, we know Goldberg's not winning. So why be concerned about that? We know Naomi's not winning next week, so why even get too excited about that? Sasha Banks is fucked over because she got challenged to a match, and unless that match happens in Saudi Arabia, which it probably will, which I'm guessing it will, if I have to be honest. I'm guessing it's going to be Sasha versus Charlotte in Saudi Arabia, which is probably a good second option because, Sasha Banks wants them paydays, baby. What was the point of that tease? And none of this makes any sense. And I get it that Sonya and Charlotte kind of have a relationship that has been built up on television for a little while. So it makes sense that we would have Ronda Rousey, as she gets a little bit more testy with Charlotte, Sonya Deville will kind of step in and say, no way. Because, Sonya has been playing favorites for Charlotte for a little while now. But for her to get physical and jump on Ronda Rousey's back is almost completely out of character for her. I don't know, man. This was all very weird. I hate the idea of completely breaking up any and all drama, and just making everything mundane. Because if we know there's going to be Charlotte versus Ronda, and that's the money match, and it is, why waste our time with Charlotte and Naomi? Why waste our time with Sasha Banks and Charlotte? I don't want to see matches just for the sake of. That's the thing, I don't give a fuck if they have good matches. I don't want to see good matches for the sake of matches. I want to see shit with consequences, with shit where something might actually get fucked up, where something might actually, change. What's the likelihood of Sasha Banks or Naomi making this a triple threat match? Fucking nil. I guess Sasha Banks could theoretically. She's big enough that if she was ready to wrestle at WrestleMania, she can make it a triple threat match. That would, of course, shit on the Royal Rumble because Sasha Banks, that's like they shit on the Royal Rumble last year, where they had Daniel Bryan muscle his way into it. To have Sasha Banks muscle her way into it would be shitting on the Royal Rumble. I mean, fuck, if you can get a title match without winning the Royal Rumble, why even win it? Why even be in it? So, it's all just so confusing and silly. And we still don't got nothing for Bob. And and Nakamura, I don't know. If he beats Sami Zayn, what's next? I don't know. If he loses to Sami Zayn, what's next? I don't know. Sami Zayn clearly is probably going to end up wrestling Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania, which, isn't something that sounds terrible. It actually sounds pretty fun. The issue that I have here is that the Intercontinental title is ice fucking cold. There's nobody challenging for it, and the only one person actually seems to care about it. McIntyre is in a cold, dusty feud with Baron Corbin. Roman stuff is getting far too complicated. And, yes, the COVID thing kind of threw it for a loop, but it's getting too complicated. It's lost the simplicity that it deserves. And it's only because WWE decided to put the belt on Brock at day one instead of just canceling that fucking match. Just cancel the fucking match and have it at the Royal Rumble. You didn't need to have Brock wrestle on that show at all. Yes, the people paid to see Brock. Yes, I get it. You could have had Brock wrestle somebody else. Even if it's just Brock comes out there and challenges, open challenge, and you could have had, somebody who has a history who wanted to fight Brock comes out there and, fights Brock. Maybe it was Kofi Kingston or something like that. Kofi says, oh, yeah, you remember that time you jobbed me out for my title? I want a rematch. And then Brock's beat him in like 2.5 minutes or whatever. Just so that we could have some payoff to that feud and get Brock on the day one show, and then everything's done. But what they did was take our hand and wander us through the deep end of these goddamn woods, and then said, "Stay here. We'll come right back." And then it took them 6 months to come back, even though it only was like 6 weeks. It was only like 6 weeks, but I still felt like a lost kid. Like, why was I taking this far out into the woods, where Brock became world champion, is embroiled with a feud on Lashley on Raw, while also still being in a feud with Roman on SmackDown? Why am I in this time zone? Why is Big E on SmackDown? Why is he here? Big E in the New Day defeat Los Lotharios. Match was an absolute banger. Best match on the show. Really, Los Lotharios really needed this match. They really, really needed this. But for Christ's sake, bro, why is Big E on this show? What rules? What rules put him on this show? Was there a trade and we don't know anything about it? If there was a trade, just say it was a trade. And we're going to send somebody to SmackDown, a person to be named later. And then it could literally be anybody. Right? But we just very quietly, oh yeah, we know that there's a brand split, but oh yeah, we're going to put this guy right here now. What? So now he's back in the fucking tag team with Kofi Kingston. And look, New Day has run its fucking course, man. I'm over it. I'm over it. I don't care how good their matches are. The match was great, but I'm done with New Day. All right? And I'm talking every incarnation of New Day. Every mixed match version of New Day. I'm tired of it. That break we had where, Big E was on Raw and, Kofi was injured and it was just Xavier Woods by himself doing his thing, that was welcome. When the other two guys are gone and it's just one of those guys doing his thing by himself, that's welcome. But this New Day is the lioness's blanket, and it's their own fault for not ever wanting to break up and not ever wanting to break this up. It has really become an anchor around all three of their ankles. It has become terrible. Like, look at the Shield, by the way. The Shield was a vehicle that turned all three guys into stars when they broke up. Each one of them had to find their own individual identity. Roman for a long time kind of held on to the identity of the Shield, even the theme song and everything. But for the most part, it made them all three single stars. Now people kind of wanted the Shield right before, Ambrose left. People were kind of clamoring for the Shield return. New Day refused to fucking go away. Every couple of weeks, it's another New Day reunion where everybody's back together and this guy's coming back from injury, so New Day is reunited. It's like, fuck. Even good things have to come to an end. Because this shit is spoiled. This shit is like pouring cottage cheese over your Cheerios at this point. This shit is awful. And they have to know it. And you talk about, oh yeah, we want these guys to be world champions and top stars. Like, no, you don't. You still have fucking Kofi Kingston coming out to the New Day theme when he was the fucking world champion. That was stupid. He didn't have his own identity. Now you got Big E, who you gave him his own identity on Raw as the main guy. You shoved him back in the fucking tag team. Now he's coming out to New Day theme again too. What is going to come out of this that is going to be any interest to anybody in the long term? I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not get it. Oh, well, Big E, we ain't got no spot for you in the main event right now. How about give him a spot wrestling in a feud that does not involve the title then? That doesn't mean he can't still wrestle in matches that don't have, title implications. He can still get in there and have other kinds of matches. They're doing it with Drew McIntyre. And I don't get me wrong, I hate what they're doing with Drew McIntyre. But if you'd have took Big E on Raw and built a storyline around him and somebody else, I don't know who, maybe Damian Priest, I guess, for the U.S. belt or something like that. At least for a little, it's a stopgap thing until after WrestleMania. Okay, it doesn't fucking matter. None of this shit's gonna matter in May anyway. Because most of the people are going to be gone. Lita's going to be gone. Goldberg's going to be gone. A lot of these people are going to be gone. You know? Or you could have built up the Goldberg Big E match. You could have literally done anything else. He could have gotten into a feud with The Miz. He could have did anything. But instead, we're stuck with this shit. More fucking New Day. I'm tired of fucking New Day. I can confirm, after I took about 30 seconds to think about it, as I was rambling, New Day got go away heat with me, dog. Fuck them. I'm ready for them to go away. All of them. All three of them. Get the fuck out of here. Look, I like successful brothers, man. But this is obviously just this is a safety blanket. It's like when Gargano and all those guys refused to leave NXT. That's exactly what this is. Oh, we got a taste of getting out of this shit, but we're just gonna go back into it eventually. No, this is horse shit. Fuck this. Get this shit out of here. Kill New Day. Death to New Day. I want it dead. Dead. Put it to fucking sleep. It's been New Day for 8 fucking years or something like that. Enough. Enough. It's too much. It's too much. It's got to go. All right. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. This show sucks. It frustrated the fuck out of me. I'll talk to you guys later.
MongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.